And I'm Bill Allen, the producer of Loren Live VMG. We're glad you're joining us today. Loren's coming to you live on several streaming platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, followed by a live question and answer session afterwards. Love, comment, share, and tag all of your friends, and get ready to hear from the next governor of Washington State.
Filing day, we've got a big rally coming up, and Loren's receiving love letters now. I'm Christopher Gergen. This is Loren Live VMG, and joining me tonight is the insubordinate one, Mr. Loren Culp. Loren, how are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Excited to be here again with all of the insubordinates.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a great week here at the campaign. As always, things are moving, things are getting really busy. We've got some fantastic things that are coming up. Monday, we have something big going on Monday that we're going to make official. Would you like to talk a little bit about what's going on Monday?
Absolutely. Monday, I'm going to be in Republic, where I live. It wasn't that long ago, last July, summer of 2019, that I had a little get together in the city park in Republic, downtown Republic, and I invited some of my friends. Over 100 people showed up for my announcement speech for my campaign for governor. And we got together. I gave a speech. Sheriff Bob Songer from Clickitat County came up with his wife, Fran.
Fantastic people.
Drove 6 hours just to be here and show their support for me. It was awesome. But on that day in July, with over 100 people, I announced my bid for governor of Washington State. I had no money. We had no Facebook following. It was just me, my friends, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, in the city park and Republic. And we started this journey, and look where we've come. We've got over 21,000 followers on Facebook.
Unbelievable.
Which is absolutely incredible. The donations are coming in like crazy. We've got over double the amount of individual donors as the next Republican competitor, and some of them were 3-1 as far as individual donors. And every donor is a vote. So that's very important. The grassroots movement across this state, it's just incredible. I am so thankful to see the support that people are sending their hard-earned money to support the campaign. They're out, volunteers all over this state, selling signs and merchandise to raise funds for the campaign. Getting the word out, getting votes, and so many pictures. All the pictures that I see all over Facebook of people all over the state going out and putting up signs. It's just incredible. And we've grown from just that little meeting in the park here in Republic with nothing. It's heartwarming, to see patriotic Americans, Washingtonians, standing up for their rights and believing in the message of individual liberty and freedom. It resonates. So Monday, having said all that, Monday, I will be right here in Republic, and I'm going to be filing. So next week is official filing date for candidates, and I will be paying the fee and filing to actually become a candidate on the ballot for governor of Washington State.
That's really fantastic. And you know, I was just reminiscing, you know, because I've been with you on this journey since I think the first time we had a conversation was late July of last year, early August, and then you and I first met last August in Spokane.
Thanks to Ted Nugent.
Thanks to Ted Nugent. Yes, that's absolutely true. And you know, looking at where the campaign was, what we were working with, it is really astounding and amazing to me personally. And I'll be honest, Loren, it's satisfying to be able to look out and see how many people that you and your campaign have given hope to. I think conservatives they're weary in Washington State with just the constant barrage of attacks from the left and from this governor.
Yes.
And this campaign is a breath of fresh air, I think, for a lot of people. And where you are on the issues is really rooted in the Constitution. It's very difficult to argue against that.
Right.
And
it's very easy to navigate, you know, for elected public servants, you know, to make decisions. It's going to be a whole lot easier, you know, to govern when you have the rule book in front of you and you follow it. You know, like on the shutdown, the governor of South Dakota, she could have been draconian just like our governor's being, but she chose to follow the Constitution and respect citizens' rights. And that's the job of a public servant. So that's what my belief system is rooted in. You know, God, family, and country, and the Constitution, Bill of Rights, that's the rule book for our public servants. So it's really resonated with people, you know, and there's so many other candidates and elected public servants, you know, they have an agenda. They have groups of people that they are representing, you know, the special interest groups. They receive a lot of money from special interest groups. And I just want everyone to know that I also am receiving money from special interest group. And I'm going to represent that special interest group. And that's the citizens of the state of Washington. That's the group that I represent.
Hardworking Americans, hardworking Washington citizens, and who, you know, most people, Loren, they just want very simple things. They want to be left alone. They want to raise their family. They want to go to work and earn a paycheck, put in, you know, an 8-hour day and receive fair compensation in return. And they don't want to
just let us live our life. Let us run our business. Let us take care of our family without government interference.
Right.
You know, and that's the American way. That's what I'm for. So it's exciting to see this movement, you know, behind my campaign. And I can't wait till Monday to file. It's going to be awesome.
You know, one of the big things that is really, for me, phenomenal to see is that close to 95% of everybody who follows our social media or has sent us money, and actually with the donations, it's above 95%. It's close to 99%. All of that is in state. You know, one of the things that you made a commitment early in this campaign is not to seek outside money. You know, you're not going to see, 100 or 500 different contributions from New York and California and Florida and Kansas and these different things. You support Washington citizens, and Washington citizens are in turn supporting you.
Right.
And I think that's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, out-of-state special interest groups. I mean, you can go to the current governor's reports and see who's donating to him. You know, we have a few from different states of individual donors, you know, small dollar donors. And those are people that have just heard about what we're doing here in Washington State, and they know that it's important that our state gets turned back around. You know, it's kind of the cornerstone of the continental United States.
Right.
And so there's patriotic Americans all across the country that that want to help other states, even though they don't live there, you know. But
Right.
as far as special interest groups, nope. The citizens of Washington State are are that for this campaign.
And small business as well. We've
Absolutely.
seen a great amount of support from the small business owners, small business community, because they see in you, I think, Loren, a candidate that is wholly committed to their success, because you know what it's like. You've been in the trenches 20 years as a small business owner.
Absolutely. Yeah. 4 years in the military and then over 20 years running my own business in the Olympia area, doing jobs all over Puget Sound. So I know the struggles of small business. I know the struggles of raising a family. I've got 2 grown sons and 6 grandkids that live in the state. So I know I am them. You know, I'm just a normal citizen that is doing something that they feel is right. And I'm not the chosen one as far as the elites think. You know, I don't fit that mold. I'm just coming from the people. I'm just one of hardworking, hard-playing Washingtonians, and that's who I'm going to represent.
You know, as we approach, you know, May 11th was always circled on our calendar, and we knew we had to get to this point, and we had set a few milestones that, you know, if we didn't hit these things, then maybe it would be a good idea to just shut it down. But we've blown away all of those benchmarks that we had set for the campaign. You know, last night I was kind of reminiscing over, you know, long drives. I'm sure you've taken a few long drives over the last 9 months. You're about to take another one later tonight. But you know, I think about where we are, Loren, and driving out to these little towns that most candidates won't go to. You know, and
Yep.
seeing those folks. It's not just the big shows, right? It's not just the big events like where we had Sheriff David Clark out of Milwaukee. He came out and endorsed you, which was phenomenal, huge. Those are great. But for me, and I'd like your thoughts on this, I really enjoy the little towns that we go to and the meet and greets where we get 100 people into a room and there's only 1,000 people that live in the town.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very important. I mean, that's where a lot of hardworking Americans live. You know, live and work. Our farmers, our timber industry, you know, fisheries. These people are hardworking Americans. You know, and I'm not saying that other people aren't. Obviously, anyone who has a job is a hardworking person. But that's where America lives. You know, all across this state. So I enjoy going to those as well, you know, when they're standing room only, and see the enthusiasm and the excitement of people for the message that I'm bringing and the hope that we have for Washington State. It's just warms my heart. I don't know how else to explain it.
You know, hazardous liberty is hazardous sometimes. And tomorrow there is a big rally that you're headed over to immediately after this VMG tonight, which tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a little bit abbreviated because Loren does have to get out of town. So we're not going to have a Q&A session on tonight's broadcast, but we'll be back at it tomorrow, and we will have live Q&A tomorrow night. But Loren, you're headed over to talk about hazardous liberty at the Hazardous Liberty Rally with Matthew Marshall and a group of other people have put together this rally. Thousands of people are slated to come to this event. Talk to the folks a little bit about what they can expect tomorrow.
Yeah, hazardous liberty, right? We can't be all safe all the time. We can do our best. But any government that says they're going to keep you safe from anything is going to be oppressive. And we're kind of going through that right now, right? Our government's saying they're going to keep us safe from this virus if we just do everything that they tell us to do. And it's become draconian, you know. But yeah, I've got a 8-hour drive, 8-hour drive. As soon as I pull these ear plugs out of my ear, I'm going to be throwing a bag in the car and headed out for Olympia. And the rally is tomorrow, 11 a.m. at the Capitol building in Olympia. And I'm expecting to see hundreds of Culp supporters. If you have signs, bring them. If you need signs, we'll have them there available. Wear your Culp swag. Yes. And they might even have some of that for sale as well. But yeah, it's going to be a big rally, and I'll be speaking there. It starts at 11 o'clock at the Capitol in Olympia. So everybody, load up the car and come on down.
Yeah, a lot of our Culp staff and volunteers and so forth are going to be there. It's going to be a great time. There's going to be music. There's going to be food carts. I don't know if there's any of you foodies out there. I'm kind of a big guy. I like food, probably more than I should. But they're going to have fantastic food there. So it's going to be a great time. We're excited. We want to say thanks to Matt Marshall for helping to coordinate this. It's really fantastic. Jim Walsh, Representative Jim Walsh is going to be there. Glenn Morgan, a good friend of ours. He just has done phenomenal things in the state, holding the left accountable. He's going to be there speaking. Over 30 plus speakers, Loren. It's going to be a huge event. It's going to be really great.
That's excellent. Yeah, all of those gentlemen are true patriots, and there's a lot more as well. So yeah, I look forward to it. Not only speaking to the crowd, but hearing the other speakers as well and meeting people.
You know, as great as the outpouring has been, Loren, for the campaign, we get a lot of positive emails. We get a lot of positive messages, tweets. I haven't had a lot of negativity. I mean, it's there sometimes, every once in a while, but really the outpouring, really the outpouring has been very positive. However, you did get a love letter from a gentleman named Ron. I think his name is Ron, and sent an email to you last night, talking about different things. He accused you he stopped short of saying that you were stupid by intimating, because that's not condescending, right? So, you know, you're clearly not educated. You know, you were in the Army, but, you know, you were just a sergeant. It's not like you were a general or something.
Right.
You know, and you're the police chief, but, you know, it's just a small town.
Yeah.
You know, you ran a business, but, you know, it's a small business. It was really condescending note. You wanted to talk a little bit about that and maybe send some love back to Ron.
Yeah, one of the things, and Ron, I appreciate the email. Maybe I can help to enlighten you a little bit. But one of the things in the email that he talked about too is, you know, I'm just a police officer. I need to shut up and do my job or resign.
Yeah, that's what he said. Shut up and do your job.
Right. Yeah, it's not my place to pick and choose which laws I'm going to enforce and which laws I'm not going to enforce. And just on the surface of that, it's obviously he doesn't have any experience in law enforcement, but police officers have discretion on what they're going to enforce, what they're not going to enforce. It's because a police officer pulls you over. They're not obligated or forced to write you a ticket. It's up to that police officer whether they're going to write you a ticket for whatever violation. Unless it's a violent felony, police officers do not have to take people to jail, you know, unless it's a domestic violence or a DUI. But there's a lot of room for officer discretion, just on the surface. You know, I'm not even talking about the Constitution, but just on the surface. Police officers have discretion on whether they arrest or whether they don't, or whether they enforce a law or they don't. I mean, police officers can let people go all the time. I mean, and they do. So it just takes a little bit of common sense. And that's something else, you know, we mentioned about the education. Yeah, I don't have Ivy League diplomas hanging on my wall. You know, I got out of high school and joined the military. My college was 4 years active duty in the military. And then to further my education, I ran my own business for over 20 years in the Olympia area, starting that from nothing. So, yeah, I don't have an Ivy League college degree to hang on my wall, but, you know, there's a difference between education and intelligence. And there are no classes or degrees that you can get in common sense. So
right.
I was too busy out in the real world learning stuff to spend 2 or 4 years in college. And there's nothing wrong with college and getting a college degree. You know, people do that. I'm not downplaying that at all. But I chose a different path. I chose joining the military, becoming a leader, and then 20 years in the private business, and then 10 years as a police officer. So obviously, he probably has a college degree hanging on his wall, and good for him, you know. But you shouldn't look down on other people. You know, you shouldn't look down your nose at other people that chose a different path, because there's all kinds of ways to learn things in this world, and some of them don't give you a degree at the end, but you get the experience, you get the common sense, and you gain the knowledge. So that's what I have to say about that.
You know, education is something that, you know, I like that point that you made about the difference between education and intelligence. Henry Ford was not an educated man. He became one of the richest men in the world. And it's what you do with that. And I think that you have shown throughout your career that not only do you take charge and take ownership of situations, that you take responsibility for what's going on. That's leadership. And that, leadership,
you know, that attitude that he presented in that email, that's kind of the attitude of some people in the political class, right?
Yeah, on both sides of the aisle.
Yes, exactly. If you're not highly educated, you know, oh, you're just one of the common people.
Right.
You're not an elite like we are. Well,
the non-essentials.
Yeah, you can take that and, you know, put it where you want to. But I believe in hard work.
Sure.
I believe in the citizens of this state. You know, people that welders, electricians, plumbers, home builders, truck drivers, farmers, the timber industry, loggers, truck drivers, people that work in the lumber mills, that work in the mines. You know, these are hard-working, salt-of-the-earth people, and those are the people I'm going to represent.
You know, you were the honor graduate of your class, correct?
I was, yeah. Right after basic training, you go into what's called AIT. It's Advanced Individual Training, and that's where you learn whatever your specialty is in the military. You know, usually it's what you signed up for, but you know, sometimes they change that when you get in there.
Right.
But
this isn't what I signed up for.
When I volunteered, I signed up to be a combat engineer, and that combat engineer is a person who builds bridges and blows things up. You know, demolition expert and a heavy equipment operator. And I was the honor graduate of my class in that. And then later on, when I was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division, I went through the Non-Commissioned Officers Academy, which is the non-commissioned officer is a sergeant in the military. And it's basically a sergeant school. It's a leadership school, academy. And when I was in the 101st Airborne Division, I went to that. And I was honor graduate there as well. So, yeah, I didn't go to college.
So there's no issues with you grasping concepts.
Apparently not.
Yeah, you know, we get a lot of, you know, funny tweets and you know, Facebook, you know, funny Facebook stuff, and I'm really glad that you shared this email with everybody tonight and looked at that.
Right.
You know, another aspect beyond the education was he was talking about Rosa Parks and the Germans and the Jews and these different things, and about
I wasn't alive back then.
Yeah, and these different things. So it was a long rant, but there was a couple points that I think are valid. Maybe you could address. Well, I won't say that his points were valid, but the subject matter was valid. You touched on it a little bit regarding what's enforceable, what's not enforceable. But but also what's moral and just and what's not moral and just. Loren, do you think it
No,
was moral
absolutely.
and just for that police officer to drag Rosa Parks off that bus?
Well, that's an argument that I've presented several times. When people tell me, well, you're a police officer, you need to enforce the law no matter what it is.
Right.
And I've actually got some people to think about it, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, you kind of make sense. But there's a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that talks about, and I'm paraphrasing, but we have a moral obligation to obey just laws, and we also have a moral and ethical responsibility to disobey unjust laws.
Right.
And with that in mind, anybody who thinks that they don't want their police or their chief or their sheriff making decisions based on the Constitution, they just want them to follow the law no matter what it is. I want them to think back. And if we were in 1955 in Montgomery, Alabama right now, would you be out there cheering for your police to arrest Rosa Parks, a black lady who just got off work and was headed home and she sat in the bus, city bus, behind the sign where she was supposed to sit, according to the sign, because she is a black lady. But when the bus filled up in the front, the bus driver stopped the bus, got up and moved the sign back 2 rows and told all the black people that were sitting now in front of the sign that they needed to move to the back. Well, everybody did except for Rosa Parks. She said, no, I'm not moving. And he threatened to call the police on her. And she said, fine, call the police. Well, a police officer came and she would not move back behind the sign. So he placed her under arrest. And she asked him, why do you always push us around? And he said, I don't know, but the law's the law and you're going to jail. Right. And hauled this lady off to jail because of where she was sitting on a city bus. So if you're advocating for the police just to follow the law, no matter what the law is, then aren't you kind of advocating for that officer arresting a black lady for sitting in the wrong seat of a bus? And then think back through history. Japanese Americans during World War II, under a Democrat president, FDR, World War II started, and FDR ordered all Japanese Americans into internment camps, basically concentration camps. Took them out of their businesses, took them out of their homes, and put them in internment camps. Thousands of them.
Most of which who were loyal to the United States.
Absolutely. And is that a law that you would want your law enforcement to enforce because it's the law? And let me remind everyone that the challenge to that went all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. And they upheld FDR's authority. They said he has the authority to do that. It wasn't until years later that was turned on its head and said, this is totally wrong. And Japanese Americans that were put in that situation were paid money by the United States government for that wrong that was done to them. So would you want your police to do that today if that was the law? Or even think back then, if you were alive back then, would you want your police to do that to the Japanese Americans that were forced into those camps? My answer is no. That's absolutely wrong. And if the police would not have followed those orders, those things wouldn't have happened. And the same thing in Nazi Germany. When the Nazis were rounding up the Jewish people and putting them in concentration camps and killing them by the hundreds of thousands or the millions, what would have happened when that order came down if the police and the military said, no, I'm not doing that? What would have happened? What could Hitler have done if the military and the police would have said, no, we're not following that order? So right. Think about that. When you say, I don't want a police officer deciding what they're going to do and what they're not going to do, but based on the Constitution and what's morally unjust, not just because the Supreme Court said so, but what's moral and what's just, what's fair, what's American to do. So think about those things when you just want to have police just being robots and obeying the law no matter what.
And that's been the attitude of the governor's office and the attorney general's office, and you experienced that in 2018 when you stood up against the gun ban, 1639. And basically Ferguson told you guys and the governor said, just do your job, enforce the law.
Well, there was a letter that came out from the attorney general that told law enforcement if they do not enforce the law, that he will send in the state patrol to investigate. Well, guess what? There were well over half of the sheriffs and some police chiefs that ended up saying they're not going to enforce it. And I didn't hear of one investigation by the state patrol. A lot of this is all smoke and mirrors, folks. We have our freedoms. We have our freedoms. We are Americans. And public servants are bound by the oath of office, which is to uphold and defend the Constitution. But we have our freedoms. Don't listen to the BS coming from them. If you have a constitutional right, you have a constitutional right. In a crisis, in a war, in a protest, anything. It doesn't matter. We just have to exercise our rights. That's all. It's all smoke and mirrors when they threaten to take away your constitutional rights. And I'll guarantee you that the Attorney General of the United States right now will come down hard on any state that tramples on citizens' rights.
Bob Martin up in Snohomish, the gentleman who has run that barber shop for 51 years up there, and I'm sure you've heard of the scenario there. I know we've talked about it.
Absolutely.
Bob Martin's going to be on our show next week, and we got to him.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we got to him. So for all of you out there, Bob Martin's going to be on our show. We're going to be live from his barbershop, talking with Loren next week. And we've also got several guests that we're going to be bringing on from throughout the state, business owners that have stood up. We're going to be highlighting them here on the show and having a conversation about citizens' rights, the rights of small business owners, and the government overreach that is going on here. So, Loren, I know you have to get going out to the west side, but do you have any parting thoughts for our folks tonight?
Yeah, keep spreading the word, keep spreading the love to all of our Washingtonian supporters, to people who've never heard about me. Get the word out there. Send people to our Facebook page, the YouTube page. That's where all of these lives are being uploaded to. I believe we're live on there as well. I'm not sure, but yes. Live on Twitter, live on Facebook. Keep sending it out. Keep forwarding our messages, sharing our messages, and telling people. The best way to get the word out when you're out and about is wearing a Culp for Governor shirt or a hat. It's a great conversation starter. People can come to our website and check us out at culpforgovernor.com or the Facebook page. I just appreciate the support from all across this state. And please, if you're able, hop in the car and get down to Olympia tomorrow at 11 a.m. Be at the Capitol building. It's going to be huge. And we need to show that we support freedom and liberty in this state. And just I thank you all.
One last thing, Loren, how can folks contribute to the Culp for Governor campaign?
There's a donate button on the website at culpforgovernor.com. We appreciate all the donations. We set another record last month. We've been setting records every month this year, and set another record this last month. And it's all due to the volunteers. It's all due to people who want to bring common sense back to Olympia and reintroduce individual freedom and liberty. Get government off our ass. That's what this is all about. So thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. On behalf of Loren Culp and the Culp for Governor campaign, I'm your host, Christopher Gergen. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.